All right. Well, thank you all for showing up for our second class. All glories to Mother Natasha, all glories to religion of love, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the Supreme Lord. Oh Lord God, please help us live out these teachings and be an example in the world. Jai. Okay. Picking up where...
Your screen, your screen is the priest.
Oh,
So
okay. Let me turn it off and
you're
on. Is
faking.
that better?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So we left off here. Now a new time is come, bringing light and darkness, the path made straight, and religion undivided. As there is one God with unlimited names, so too is there one religion, and that religion, the religion of love. Excuse me. And a man standing on the bank had called out, Holy Mother, how can you say there is but one religion, when we see there are many? And she in answer said, Different religions may be likened to the digging of a well. If you dig for water in a rocky place, you need a certain kind of equipment. And if you dig in a sandy place, you will need another kind of equipment. So, on the surface, there will be differences, but the goal of both wells is the same: water. And water, once reached, is water. So it is with religion, which is given according to different language, custom, and culture. On the surface, there will be differences, but the goal of all religions is the same: God. And God, once reached, is God. So, this is a very simple analogy explaining the surface differences of religions and how they really are just superficial. In every religion, there is an outer teaching and an inner teaching. The outer teaching is given according to time and circumstances. Just like here in a rocky place, you're going to need really heavy duty drilling equipment and rock breaking equipment, and it's going to be looking a whole lot different than if you're digging a well in a sandy place, which has wider, more alluvial shaped digging apparatuses. It's going to look so different on the surface just by the different equipment. It's a very good analogy because you're dealing with a different environment. You're dealing with a different time period. You're dealing with cultures long ago and a certain mentality of the people in which the message needs to be given and explained in such a way so that the people of that time can understand as much as they're able to hear. So, just like digging a well on the surface, there be many differences. And in religion, there is so much difference in culture, so much difference in the customs and ceremonies and rituals and all the minutiae of rules and dogmas, right? But what is the goal of all of the wells ever dug in the world? The goal is to reach water. And what is the goal of every religion? It's the same one goal, to reach the same one God. See, those differences on the surface, they're temporary. Just like customs, cultures, languages, they're temporary. And therefore, just for that time, and so by time, those teachings are destroyed or are no longer relevant for all time. But there is an inner teaching, the same one message in the heart of all religions. And that inner message is the same message from God that He's been giving again and again. This is religio, re-linking again. We're repeating. He's resending the same message to come home to Him in love again and again. This is religion. We forget, God reminds. And we need periodic reminders because, hey, we're quite forgetful. And we don't really know what we're doing here, where we came from, and how to make this life perfect. We forgot it all. But if we get bogged down in all the surface differences and then think all these differences of culture, time, and circumstance and place are what religion's all about, and argue over, this little detail, that little detail, da-da-da-da, not realizing that we're all in the same boat in this material world. And it is in the same best interest for everybody to return to our original state of love of God. That is the purpose of all religions given by God. And all the religions in the world given by God, all the holy scriptures, they all can agree on the same point, that there is only one God. And if you understand the heart in all religions being one and the same, you'll realize that there only ever has been one religion returning home in love of God. Of course, it sounds different, it appears different. I know there's so many differences, right? But just like every culture, look at every country, every flavor of food or style of music or art, it's different every corner of the globe you go to. That's just the variety of life. And variety is the spice of life. If everything was the same, it'd be boring, right? Only one style of food, that'd be boring. Only, one style of worshiping God, I mean, it's not a bad thing to be fixated in just one style, and that's what I like. I like this style of food. That's what I dig, and that's what I'm into. I like this style of prayer and worship to God, and that's what I'm into. Hey, wonderful. God is experiencing the taste you most desire. And there's nothing wrong with enjoying different flavors of food throughout the week. One day Italian, one day Mexican, one day Indian, why not? Mix it up. Variety is, makes things more fun and joyful in life, right? So to all the different varieties of prayer and worship and love of God and the great saints and devotees of old, who we can read about in the scriptures, all the scriptures, because that's what all scriptures are. Scriptures are teachings from the Supreme Lord and from his devotees and their activities. So, Scripture is knowledge of God and the servants of God. And we learn from both the Lord's direct instructions, and we also learn by the life and examples and teachings of the great saints. And I tell you, whether it's a Christian saint, or a Muslim saint, or a Jewish saint, or a Hindu saint, or a Buddhist saint, a saint is a saint is a saint is a saint. They're all saints, and they're all quite lovely, because their hearts are filled with love. And that's the goal, love of God. You see, if we all helped each other with this one common goal, well, that would be kind of heaven on earth, right? Well, let's continue. And there, what was, did I hear a clap? Funny. The soundboard of Discord. And there were two brothers, who after hearing, talked together late into the night, and I with them. I see, said the elder. It all comes clear now. We have been as one who, looking only at the dress, forgets the person inside the dress. Seeing only the outer signs and symbols of religion, the languages of other lands, their customs and their culture, we thought we looked upon a different truth, and even on a different God. There is but one God, I say, and one truth, says the other brother, and both agree. Early the very next day, in the time when the air is fresh and cool, the whole world shining, as we gather again, a young man, a student at the local university comes forward that he might be heard. The leaders of religion have always taught that we must give up everything we own to God. But we can see it is they, not God, who have their hands outstretched to receive what they tell us we must give up. Does she also ask of us that we must give up everything we own to practice the religion of love? That's a good question. And it has been the popular belief and custom that we must give in charity to places of worship, houses of worship, to our religious leaders and priests and imams and Brahmins and and rabbis, etc., right? And to the monastic temples, right? To give in charity, right? And that's good. Nothing wrong with that. It's wonderful, right? But we have seen in the past that not always have religious organizations been honest with their monetary dealings. And it has been happening many, many times in every corner of the globe where people make of religion a business in which they profit or seek to gain control, power, land, prestige, and of course, wealth, right? Everyone's after the coin, right? People think money is the root of all evil. It's not, actually. It's not money. But it might very well be the love of money, or in other words, ignorance. Anyways, back onto the point. So do we have to give up our material possessions in order for us to be holy? And that's another question, not just, should we give up our money to religious organizations or not, but should I give up everything I own and free of all material possessions, somehow I will be less attached to this world and it'll be more conducive for spiritual realization? So this is a common question that some serious transcendentalists have when they think that their material possessions are keeping them attached to this world, therefore should we get rid of them? Let alone you got religious leaders just wanting to get your money just so they can, pad whatever material sense enjoyment they got lined up. But you also have, this question, if we really do need to give up everything in order to become holy. Well, let's see what Mother Atasha says. And to this common question, I gave her reply. What do you own? She would say, for surely everything belongs to God. We may only have the use of things temporarily while we are in the world. What is important is not how much or how little we have, but the use made of what we have. For opulences such as wealth, beauty, name, and fame are in themselves neither good nor bad. A knife in the hands of a surgeon may save your life. A knife in the hands of a murderer may take your life. So it is not things which are good or bad, but the use made of them. And the perfection of life is not to give up everything, but to use everything in the service of good, in the service of God. Okay, break that down. So, well, she pretty much says it all, but the thing is, we think money might be the root of all evil. We think it's causing all this greed and mayhem, but money is just money. It's just, a currency, a means of transaction to get the things you need in this world. Food, shelter, whatever. It's not no problem having money. Money is not inherently evil, and you can use money for good things. Having done a lot of charity work with Mother Ratasha, I can tell you, money can be used in wonderful ways to do good and to be of service. It's not that money is bad, or it's not that cars and things like that are evil. No, it's how we use things that determines the result, right? It's the intention, the consciousness of the user, which turns whatever activity you're doing or whatever items you're with, whether they're going to be further entangling us in more material bondage and suffering. For every action always has a reaction. This is a law of nature, the material world. Or our activities on the spiritual plane. If we're engaged in devotional service, and all the works that we are doing offered in loving service to the Lord, in which case the activities themselves and all the item and paraphernalia used in service become spiritualized. In a sense, they do not engage you further or entangle you further in material reactions. In fact, they free us and liberate us from material ties. This is the actual attachment cutting of the material world that actually works, is not trying to give up everything in some mood of false renunciation, and then still you're thinking about the objects of your desires, and in your contemplation of the things you want but you can't have because you gave it up or you took a vow, but you still want the thing, and you twist yourself up inside with guilt and shame, and eventually all that negativity is going to come out in some very perverted and wicked actions. And haven't we seen things like that in religion by so-called religious people? So, the perfection of life isn't by giving up everything, but by using everything in full knowledge that nothing belongs to you or me or to anybody but the Supreme Lord, because everything belongs to Him. So this idea of proprietorship is an illusion in the material world. We're actually not the owners of anything. If that were true, we could hold on to something forever. But we can't, can we? Neither the thing nor our own bodies last forever. You can't hold on to anything. Everything rests upon the energies of the Lord, for everything is of His ingredients: earth, water, fire, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego, all of these material energies, these combinations of matter and forms, which are constantly changing. Even science can agree that matter doesn't go anywhere or just ever disappear, it just changes form. It's constantly changing, it's temporary. Birth, death, constantly growth and destruction. This endless cycle, this samsara of birth and death. We're just visitors here. We're just temporarily in these bodies. And we stay trapped in this material world, life after life, in multiple bodies, until we're able to make our life perfect and cut all the karmic reactions or material reactions. Karma just means, karma's it's a Vedic or Hindu term, but it's a very good word. It's very really hits the point, and it really just means, as science has understood the law of nature, every action has an opposite or equal reaction. And in the Bible it says, as you sow, so shall you reap. This is the law of material nature. Whatever you do comes back to you. What's up? Oh, my screen froze? Oh, sorry. Let me fix that. Hold on. Turn off camera, turn on camera. Okay, is it working now, I hope? Apologies. Technical difficulties, the first time doing this on the laptop.
That's fine.
Feel free to turn your mics off and tell me if it freezes, because it seems to be doing that often. My apologies. Anywho, I think you all understanding the point here. We don't really own anything in this world if everything belongs to God. So the idea that I own this land, or I own this car, or I own this clothes, or I am this body and I own this body, and all of these such thinking related only to the body, then, well, we won't be using things properly. We'll be thinking that I am the owner and I'm using it for my enjoyment, and therefore all of my activities are going to be materialistic. Because my activities will be acting on the material plane, because my goal, my desire in my activities is to seek a material result. I go to work because I want to get that paycheck, that money. I labor in the kitchen because I want to enjoy that food. Everything we desire, it's because we desire to enjoy something, or we want some material result. So whenever our desire is material or materialistic, we have to suffer the results of our actions, be they good or bad. Now, the thing about karma, or the law of action and reaction in the material world, is that it doesn't think good or bad. This is our perception, good or bad. And we call things good karma, bad karma, by whether they give us pleasure or pain or displeasure, right? Something lucky, like, winning the lottery. Oh, a good karma, Or it's like, oh, the stoplight camera got me, got a huge ticket. Bad karma. We call things good or bad by whether they give us material enjoyment or misery. But technically, there's no such thing as good or bad karma. It's all just karma. And karma itself is inherently bad. And the reason why karma is bad, even good things coming to you, because it's still reactions of material nature that keep you trapped in this material world, which you have to now experience. And you remain trapped in this material world so that you can enjoy the fruits of your activities. And then you're enjoying, and then you can create more material activities, and then we get further and further entangled in the material world. But when our activities are spiritual activities, right, that aren't on the material plane, they're not materialistic, they are devotional. When you're engaged in devotional service, any activity done on the platform of devotional service unto the Lord, with no expectation of reward or benefit, save solely for the pleasure of the Lord, and to be of humble service, in this mood of a humble devotee of the Lord, giving up all the reactions and fruits of our labors, and make God the supreme proprietor of everything we see around us, and understand this, and use everything in His service. For if you see yourself and understand you are a servant of God, and you know that everything around you is the property of God, therefore whatever you have in your possession that we are falsely calling ours isn't actually ours. It's by the blessing of God that He has given us the facilities of this stuff. It's all God's stuff. But He's letting you hold on to this. He's letting you use this stuff. By God's mercy, His blessings, that we have the things we have. Therefore, the devotee always gives thanks to everything that comes by the Lord's grace, and then makes his life perfect by employing whatever the Lord sends back unto the Lord in loving service. The mood is something like a child who asks his parents for a card or a piece of paper and crayons and markers, right? And the child makes a nice birthday card and colors it in and writes, love you, mommy, or love you, daddy. And even though the child is using all the ingredients of the parents, and the parents well know what he's up to, still the child uses whatever he can that's by the mercy of his parents offered unto him to use, and he makes whatever he can and offers it back to the parents in love. This is the mood of devotional service. This mood of love. Loving service where only wish to please God. And there's 9 processes of devotional service, of which hearing, chanting, and remembering are the foundation of. But yeah, so you don't have to give up everything. You don't have to become poor. It says another part of the books, the book of Answers, the book Answers, that if poverty was the criteria of holiness, then every beggar on the streets would be a saint. So, you don't have to be poor to be spiritual. You don't have to be a pauper and live in a cave to be actually renounced from this world. No. Renunciation happens from within. It's something you really mean it, right? So that even if it's around you, like you have no taste for it, just disgusts you. Ugh, I don't want that. Like, I'm done with that, right? Like, it's like a shift inside when like you really mean it, right? You really, you're done with something and you don't want any more part in it because you desire something else. This real renunciation, not taking a vow of celibacy, for example, and then still hankering for the opposite sex to enjoy. Even if not acting upon it, still the mind thinks on it. And that's not a real renunciation. That's a false renunciation, because they still desire those things. They shouldn't have even taken such a vow because they still wanted them. So, anywho, I should probably continue on. What's next in the book? Let me drink some water. Then a lawyer, skilled in debate and jurisprudence, questioned me. What does this new religion, for they would insist to call it so, say of the law, the rules and regulations all religion must have, that man may be governed in good? We already have too much law, complained a man at the back. Yes, agreed his friend, and many with him. And yes was heard again and again throughout the crowd. And each new religion, every new prophet, just added to our burden. She gives but one law, I say, and that law is love. For she teaches that all laws lead to love, and love fulfills all law. What does that mean? And in truth, to be honest, I didn't understand this one for a long time. But it all kind of made sense to me eventually. All these rules and regulations, all of the do's and do nots that God has commanded in every religion, what are they all for? They're all meant to guide us properly on the path made straight, making ourselves straight before God, guiding us how we can come home to Him, how we can give up bad habits, attachments, and how we can rightly guide and act in morality, in respect and decency and kindness to others. All those good, wonderful qualities of saintly people, such as tolerance and humility and even-mindedness and being the friend to all these wonderful qualities of religion. All these rules and regulations are meant to guide our hearts and straighten ourselves before God. And I know that they sound different all over the world, and One says you have to fast on these days, not these days. One says it's okay to eat this, not okay to eat that. And I know it can get crazy and all the minutia and all the differences on the surface. I get it, right? You know, that's what most people bicker about in religion, all the surface stuff. Yet none of them are unified on the common purpose and goal of every single one of God's messengers and prophets. That we straighten our lives out, get back on the path, make life perfect, go back home and love. And along the way, share that love with others so that love may grow. So what is the purpose of all the laws that God has given? It's just to lead us all to love. And once you reach love of God, you have fulfilled all law. So that has been 30 minutes. I'm going to go back to the Discord for questions and answers. Oh, here we go. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a dumb comment. Oh, go ahead. I wasn't gonna say much.
No, you go ahead. After you.
Okay, you guys are so kind to each other. Who has a question? Who has a comment? Who's got a question?
Yeah, I just have a comment. So.
Okay, do you have a question, my love?
I have a question. Yes.
Okay, I'll give preference first to the question.
I've been thinking about this just recently, so it's not like it's a long time I'm thinking, so it just came to me just recently. That of course my intention never was or never be to by chanting, using chanting as a tool to clear my karmas, whether they are good or bad. But I want to ask, by doing devotional service like hearing, chanting, remembering, especially I'm thinking about chanting right now, can be free from our karmas, like during the day or, in our life, in daily.
Oh yeah. Does devotional service free you from karma? Well, that's actually what it does. In fact, instead of good karma, bad karma, devotional service is called naish karma. Naish means neutral, or I like to think anti-karma, because the activities of devotional service, which are not on the material plane, instead of giving you reactions, material reactions, what it does, it burns away reactions that you were expecting. It's actually freeing you of our past ignorance, of reactions that we have to suffer, good or bad, things that just keep us in this world. And even better, chanting names of God brings us closer to love of God, to our natural state. And you don't have to think, I have to work on my karma, I have to work on getting closer to God, I have different separate activities. No. The process of devotional service is so powerful and sublime and incredibly simple that you need only do that, and automatically karmic reactions are cut to pieces. Because devotional service unto the Lord in the proper mood, done in love, under the guidance of a devotee of the Lord, and according to scriptural injunctions, is activity on the spiritual platform. It is a spiritual activity, like chanting the names of God. God and His holy name are non-different. So by chanting the names of God, we recall ourselves into the very presence of God Himself. God and His name are one and the same. It's not like in the material world where if I say the word water, it's not going to quench my thirst, because the object and the name of the object are two different things. But God and the name of God are one. That's mean of being absolute, omniscient, omnipresent, So when you're in the presence of spiritual energy, or when you're engaged in devotional service, which the activity itself is spiritual, for the Lord says He is non-different from His service. So the service done unto the Lord itself is holy and purifying, and as all, God is present in his service. See, he's not different. He's not different from his message. He's not different from his names. He's not different from his glories. He's not different from his service. And any time we are in the presence of spiritual energy or engaged our consciousness in devotional service, we free ourselves from ignorance and the reactions of our past, and also the illusions that make us suffer. Primarily the illusion that we are these material bodies, and the false decision making to make our goals in life just pleasing the senses of the body and paying no mind to the eternal souls that we are, and freeing us from the real cause of suffering, this repeated birth and death, all of our ignorance, our forgetfulness of our true spiritual nature. Devotional service is itself the entire kit and caboodle you need for spiritualization. So just chant, 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 engage in devotional service. It will destroy karmic reaction. That's what it does. And the more we engage in spiritual activities, or hearing, chanting, remembering, or associating with devotees, well, all of that is associating with the Lord and his message and names. And association always has an effect. Whenever we are with some people a lot, we end up taking up some of their characteristics. We kind of acting like a little more, right? Or maybe talk like them. One who associates with thieves all the time eventually might steal. Or someone associates with a bunch of devotees, it might actually become attracted to the Lord's devotional service. Association always has an effect. And the best association that we can possibly ever bless ourselves with is direct association with the Lord himself in all love. And that is easily done just by chanting his holy names or hearing his word in the Holy Scriptures, and not just, paying, ear service to the words, but actually trying to apply them, actually do them, just saying yes sir but not doing anything. It's not really appreciated by anybody, right? Like, imagine you're a supervisor at work, and you send your guy off like, hey, go do that thing, and he's like, you got a boss, and then he just doesn't do anything, and you come back the next day like, hey, you said you're gonna do that. No, hearing the scriptures means like you hear the information, you get the knowledge, and then you practice it and apply it in your life. You do it. That's hearing the scriptures and chanting the names of God and remembering God, giving thanks to the Lord, praying to the Lord, making him the supreme goal of your life. These forms of devotional service, as much as you can engage with them, is association that is purifying to your heart and mind. And it's good to be desirous of this association. In fact, you can be greedy for this stuff, spiritual stuff. You can lust after that all you want, because that's lust under a transcendental plane, lolium it's called. To be greedy for spiritual realization, to be greedy for purification of your heart, to be greedy for spiritual association, just hungry for more knowledge, hungry to associate more with more devotees, hungry to learn more and chant and pray more, and this excitement, this wanting to benefit your spiritual life above all other desires. This Mother Tasha said it's not selfish, it's soulfish. And it's a very good quality, actually. It's called lolium in the East. It's like you're just hungry for God, and that's a very good desire. So yes, devotional service, hearing, chanting, remembering does free us of karmic reactions, but it doesn't happen overnight. It's a simple process, but we have a lot of layers of dirt and ignorance and forgetfulness, and we gotta chant, 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 and grind, 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 and chip away at all that dirt for that love to shine through. Does that answer your question, love?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, and Meet, would you be so kind, brother, to share your comment?
I think my comments was is just Just like you mentioned how money was not exactly a good or bad thing, and yeah, I agree. There's a lot of people who they make a lot of money, but then they use that money.
Oh, you're cutting out a bit, brother.
I think that's pretty good. Oh, hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you said that the last I heard was that people do have a lot of money and they do good things with it.
Yeah, yeah. They help their communities and set up, you know, uh, like lasting systems which help people, not have to worry about food and water and that sort of stuff. And even though it might be like large amounts of money, they're using it well.
And that's very good. You know, especially.
I had a question
Oh,
right after.
oh yes.
It's a little related to money, but it was like you mentioned, like the goal is not like renouncing everything, but to like change our tastes, right? I was wondering what's the way to better change your taste? Because I've noticed that shift in myself, but I was just wondering what the process is to change your taste from something material into like more of the scriptural, um, like prayer and devotion.
Oh, be happy to answer that, and the answer is quite simple. Um, Basically, is association. If real estate success is location, 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 then spiritual life success is association, association, association. How do we grow desire for the spiritual? By associating with others who desire as you do, and by associating with all types of enjoyable things that you can see, watch, hear, experience that keep you inspired and keep you in remembrance of the Lord and your path and your service unto Him and purification of your heart, right? Uh, and use,
Yeah, I was
oh yeah?
gonna say. Okay. I was gonna say, yeah, being in this Discord helped a lot. Seeing other people on here, and you're always on every day, so it's just a constant reminder. That's true. That has helped shift my taste back towards, you know,
You know, it is true.
prayer and chanting. Yeah, I appreciate.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Your audio cut off, and I thought
Oh,
you
go ahead.
stopped talking. Sorry.
Yeah, I did. I did. Yeah, you're good. You're good. Go ahead.
um, what was I saying? It is true. And we do see. What's that?
We don't have your face in
Oh,
video.
oh. Let me fix my camera. Turn off and on. That better now?
I can see it.
Okay, good. Um, we can see from the lives of great saints and sages of old, even my own spiritual master, Mother Atasha, that they often do have very few possessions and are very callous towards any form of acquiring any material things for themselves. And so they do kind of outwardly appear quite poor. Um, and they didn't do that intentionally. It just kind of happened naturally because they just, you know, had very little desires. You know, they had very little taste to maintain their bodies beyond the bare minimum so that they can put all their time and energy and consciousness towards spiritualization, towards the loving service of God. But that takes time to get to that level, you know, where that's the ideal. You know, we read about like the examples of the great saints and sages and the great prophets, and you know the ideal character, the ideal examples, so that we have a benchmark, you know, that we have something to, you know, some footsteps to follow to make our lives perfect as they did, and that is of course the goal. But we don't get there on day one. It's going to take time. You know, it's going to be hard work. Uh, so as much as you can change your association, especially people if you can, but not just people. It's everything. Association's everything. Anything that you are around, anything that's coming to any one of your senses, is a form of association. It always has an effect. But naturally, as you progress in spiritual practices, especially if you're chanting regularly, chanting daily, even Jesus says, give us this day our daily bread. He didn't say once a week, he said daily. And he ain't just talking about, food for the tummy. He's talking about that spiritual bread, that food for your soul, that purification of your heart, like the real nectar of any time we spend in the day, honestly. Every day we need that, right? And little by little, it all adds up. And naturally, or as Mother Atasha would say often, organically, it's organic. Organically, we advance in spiritual life at a natural pace, as long as we don't, go crazy and just, listen to the instructions of devotees and don't over endeavor, naturally we lose taste for things. And it's a giving up of a lesser taste for a higher taste. A crude example is I used to get pizza at this joint, and now this other place I know about, I like the pizza a lot better. There's nothing wrong with that old stuff, but no thanks. My taste has changed. I like this stuff better. I kind of acquired this taste more. I like that stuff. So, and that's kind of how it is. It's just, you don't just rip off the Band-Aid of material attachments and desires like, cold turkey. If you do that, that is called over endeavor. And it's a mistake that many young devotees do in many different disciplines and many religions. They go too gung-ho, too fast, too hard, and they burn themselves out by trying to falsely renounce too much and artificially act as if they were at that higher platform, or at least any platform higher than themselves, artificially acting on it. But and it didn't work out so well. You got to begin where you are. You got to be easy with yourself. You got to love yourself, and begin where you are, and from where you are, gradually progress at the rate that you are comfortable with. And an example of progressing at a rate that you are comfortable with is such as taking up the practice of chanting the holy names of God. You can start off by chanting like 5 minutes a day. Just do it every day, 5 minutes a day, every day. But the important thing, Mother Atasha told us, is that it has to be regular every day, to be really effective every day. And you don't decrease the amount of time every day. You maintain or you increase. So when you're ready, then you can go up to maybe 10 minutes a day. And then when you're ready, you can go up to 15 minutes a day, for example. Or if you're chanting on beads, I do one whole round of beads every day. And then I work myself to 2 rounds a day. Round is like when you have some prayer beads, you chant on one bead and you go to the next bead, the next name of God, the next mantra, names of God, right? You gradually progress. It's I did something the same thing. When I started chanting, Mother Atasha's disciples, they all got up at 4 a.m. in the morning, including she, and chanted names of God till 6 straight. No distraction, interruption. And I never went to bed early, so waking up early was really hard, and wasn't too successful. I wouldn't have been too successful if I tried to do that right off the bat. 2 hours straight with this new practice. Ooh, that might have turned me off, right? Luckily, I was easy with myself. I didn't have to get up at 4, but I thought, why not? You see, there's a difference between imitating and following in the footsteps of a great saint or prophet or messenger, right? There is a fine line. Imitating and following in the footsteps are different. See, imitation is where you try to act like they are, like they did from their platform, such as like falsely renouncing things you're not ready for, or speaking on subject matters you're not quite advanced in, Following in the footsteps of means following the instructions that they give. And of course, emulating their example of piety One who acts as a saint before he's a saint becomes a saint. So remembering in this moment, what is the best thing I could do in service? What's the best thing that can bring me closer to love, please the Lord, please my spiritual master? This type of thinking, this type of association. Remember, we associate with our own thoughts too. It ain't just external things. In fact, what we associate most with are the thoughts in our head. What are we thinking on? So whatever association that's around us, we're going to draw that energy more into our life. Like the law of attraction. There was this documentary that came out years ago called The Secret. Oh, The Secret. It's basically just law of attraction. You really think and contemplate on something so much, you manifest it in your life. You attract these things in your life. It's no secret. It's just a law of attraction. Whatever we focus on, we get more of. For example, if you're in a relationship with somebody and there's good and bad, but really you're focusing on the negative things in that relationship, you're looking at the faults of the other person and the naughty things they said or did, and not paying too much mind or attention to all the loving, kind, and good things that they say and do. If what you focus on is the negative, well, that's kind of what you get more of. You get more of those negative qualities. You attract more of that in your life, and that energy negatively influences the person around you, because everything we do and are affects those around us, and our thoughts aren't that secret. They're energies, they're vibes that affect those around us. So whatever we put our consciousness on, whatever we're thinking on, whatever we're desiring, we attract more into our life. And if you keep God and loving service and spiritualization and freedom from suffering and eternal bliss and happiness and knowledge as your goal in life, which is a wise goal, verily the best and only goal really we all ought to be working towards, since the purpose of life is spiritualization. The more we think about these things, the more we grow our desire, especially since whatever we focus on, we get more of, and we kind of attract things into our life. A crude example, when I first went to Mexico City to preach the religion of love, distribute books, and engage in some charity programs with some children, people were warning me, oh, it's so dangerous, you're going to get kidnapped, you're going to get mugged, it's going to be, it's violence over there, all the cartels. And so we still went back and forth, spent many months living in DF, in La Ciudad de Mexico, Mexico City, and I only met nice people, had nice experiences, and never had a fear for my life or anything. And that's because I wasn't really attracting those things in my life. When you hear about stories of people who got mugged or bad things happened in Mexico, which we heard a lot of stories, and even first-hand accounts from those around us, well, tell me a little more about the context. Like, how did that person stick them up at gunpoint and in front of the ATM and empty their bank account? How? Well, they were at this bar, and it was really late in the shady part of town. Let me stop you there. Their consciousness, their desires brought them in situations where that happened, right? And me just wanting to give little books and do some loving service. Well, I didn't get drawn to shady corners of the city, or nor did I have much bling bling on me to stand out. So we didn't have much, anyways, right? Really don't even wear a watch. So like attracts like. Whatever we associate with has an effect, and whatever we desire, whatever we think of, we get more of in our life. And grow organically, naturally, at your own pace. Increase your amount of devotional service as you can throughout the day. How many minutes of the day are you devoting in service to the Lord? Instead of just serving myself and my body, my my employer, my family, my country, all these temporary things. Because doesn't matter how much you have, you think you have, remember, it all going to be gone in time of death. And if you know about Howard Hughes, he was that real famous aviator. He was like one of the richest people in the world. When he died, there was a big press conference, and all the journalists were murmuring among themselves, like, how much money did he leave behind? And that came like, how much money did he leave behind? And one snappy reporter shouts, all of it. Doesn't matter how much money you have. He didn't take it with him. None of it. It's all lost at the moment of death. So the idea we own anything, nothing. And trying to make all my goals of life, knowing that the results, everything I build is going to be temporary and lost, and then eventually be a cause of suffering. Well, or we can spend our time towards our eternal life of abundance and knowledge. If we can reconnect with our true self, the beloved lover of God, whom we all are, just forgotten, covered over in ignorance and illusion, reconnect with our true consciousness, which is pure love. That's what it's all about, right? Well, hey, but before it gets too late, and I keep yapping on, before we end, anybody have any last comment or question?
None from me. That was pretty extensive. I appreciate that.
You're most welcome, brother. I love anything from you too.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Ramit, my love, any last comment or question from you, or maybe I could share a quick story.
I'm good. Just want to again say that we don't have your
Oh, apologies.
or me to also see.
Oh, apologies. Can you see me now?
I see him. It was just gone. That's good.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I want to look real fast, since I have a few minutes. Look real fast again at the PDF and see if there's something more I can add. Oh my goodness! Look at that. There's more. Let's read this last part. Of course, there's more. It's a whole book, right? We got 3 minutes left. All laws lead to love, and love fulfills all law. In knowledge, have love for God, for everything created by God, for all creatures, for each other, and for yourself. Be therefore loving, causing no unnecessary harm by any word or deed. Comes after that. Okay. It's a nice note that we can end on. In knowledge, have love for God, for everything created by God, for all creatures and each other, and for yourself. Well, if you have love for God, and you understand that God is the proprietor of everything, that God is the creator of everything and everyone, and that all creatures on the planet, all life, all existence, everything, including our own bodies, including us as eternal servants, all are lovingly served if you serve God in this proper knowledge and mood. Because if you serve God and please the Lord, naturally you please everything, and everyone is pleased, and everything works out harmoniously and good in this world when we act in love. When you act in devotional service, when you act in love of God, you do the highest service, you do the greatest benefit for everyone, and you become the friend to all. Especially when you see all creatures and everybody as all children, as all spirit souls, lovers of God. And therefore you treat everyone kindly and respect, and seek only to love all. And you don't cause any unnecessary harm by word or deed to anyone or anything. Because remember, all laws lead to love. And how do we act in love? If I love somebody, I don't want to hurt them. I want them actually to be happy. I want them to be free from suffering. This is real love. Love is when you don't want anything back from something that's conditional. Unconditional love is where you seek only for the other's welfare, not your own. And when you understand that the root cause of all our suffering is ignorance and our engagement in these material forms, in this material world, and you know that the real cure for suffering is the spiritual eternal, then the greatest love that you can give anyone is to help them come home again to God. That is love. That is real love. Now, I'll end there. Thank you all for coming. It was my absolute pleasure to be of service. So, all glorious Mother Natasha, all glorious to religion of love, all glorious to the assembled devotees. Jai.
Jai.